Hi, and welcome to this week's Memories Made scrapbooking process video. I'm Jen Gallacher, and today we're going to use a colored background. The last couple of pages I've used a white or black cardstock background, but I want to show you how easy it is to use pattern paper. So this is a pattern paper from Shamel, and she is a friend of mine, and she designs for American Crafts, and I just love her aesthetic. This particular one has a wood grain and a rainbow stripe to it, and it functions as a neutral almost because there isn't a lot of busyness to the pattern. So we're going to load some pattern onto this page. First thing that I've done is I have cut 3 strips of paper into triangles. The bottom edges are flat and are going to be lined with the bottom edge here, and the right edges are flat and are going to be lined with this here. And I do that by taking my paper trimmer and just turning it so the blade cuts from this point to this point. Sometimes the blade isn't long enough to reach the full 12 by 12 pattern paper turned at a diagonal, so then I will just use my scissors and cut off the rest. So the first paper we're going to use is a black paper, and this one is probably our most busy pattern, but I am going to bring some black elements into the page, so this one works really well. All of the products are linked below in the video description, or you can hop on over to the blog post, which I've also included a link to in the video description below, and you can shop directly from the products I have listed. So this is going to form the first diagonal on our page, and then I have some Bella Boulevard star pattern paper to which I cut the same kind of cut, but you'll notice that the diagonal that it forms with the black is a little bit different. Don't cut them all to be the same or it's a lot less interesting. We're trying to create some interest here at the bottom. So the star one goes next, and I'm pulling reds in the same tone as the red that already exists in the paper. Same with the yellow. This is an older paper from Echo Park from a former Easter line, but basically shop the colors in your pattern paper and shop your supplies in your stash and see if you already have patterns that might work. So you can see we've added a little bit of interest here at the bottom. Now we are going to create a cluster here. In my Scrapbooking the Art of Layering class, I talk a lot about creating clusters. I've taken a tag and I've cut off the bottom half, and I've added just some twine to it. It's in a blue that's in the same tone as the blue on the page. And we're going to tuck this behind the yellow. And then I've taken a Bella Boulevard tag, and it's also a pattern that is similar to the V or heart pattern. And I'm just going to stick it down a little bit. And then this is from crepe paper. This is from an older boy collection. It says Cool Kid. And you'll notice when I place my journaling that I also used a font that reminded me a little bit of this one. And then from Doodlebug Design, I'm going to add a few black paper clips just to bring in some drama to that bottom area. And that just creates a fun little cluster. And now when I build the page up here and there's a lot going on here, the eye doesn't stop here. The eye continues down to the bottom and notices this cluster. So the first thing that I want to put to create the big cluster at the top is this fantastic new felt pennant banner from Fancy Pants Designs. And it is in a yellow that is slightly brighter than the yellow that I'm going to use. And because this is a heavier piece, I'm going to use glue dots to adhere it. And glue dots don't always stick to felt, so I have to sometimes hand place it. And we're just going to curve this right here and stick it on the page. And that hello, that cursive hello, is already on the pennant banner. Again, I will link you to the items below so you can see all the different things. Now I'm going to combine some frames, and I believe these are all from crepe paper. If not, there might be some from Simple Stories. They do make them too. And I've chosen a blue, a white, and a red striped one. Again, these match the tones of the pattern paper that I'm using. And I have pre-cut my photos to fit inside the squares. And what I do is I will measure the width, and then I actually print mine out at the exact size with Photoshop. However, if you don't have Photoshop, you can just trim them by placing the frame on top of your photo and then just using your scissors to cut around. So place this one first at the top. We'll add a second photo in here. Usually I will place the most interesting or the best storytelling photo in the largest frame or the most interesting frame, and then I'll come back with some smaller pieces that will show here. Now, because this frame is going to slightly overlap the stick here, I'm going to need to use an adhesive that sticks up a little bit off the page. So I'm going to use some adhesive foam dots just in the corner. Before I take the backs off, the protective backs, I want to see if I need to add one more layer of adhesive. Sometimes you'll have to build up those adhesive layers just a little bit, but this will be just fine. It will cover that stick just fine. You could take the stick out from the pennant banner, but it is glued in, so I was worried about ripping the pennant, and I kind of like the stick. I think it's a little more authentic. And we'll just place that right on top, and so there's a little bit of a shadow there, a little bit of dimension there. We'll add the photo to our third frame. I like to work in threes. Kind of like in nature, things tend to appear in threes. And this one, when I place the photo on top, or rather behind the frame, you can see that there's a little bit sticking off, and this is the technique I was talking about. Tilt your scissors a little bit so that they're not straight, but they curve backwards, because then what it will do is when it cuts the photo, it will cut the photo slightly behind that frame. Now I can go ahead and add this frame. Place this one slightly further down. And now we can add some different embellishments to the page. I'm going to add this Roar clear cut from crepe paper, and I'm going to add glue dots to it behind the colored parts of the die cut, because they will show a little bit, and we're going to overlap that felt border a little bit with that felt pennant, and it just sticks off the page. I think it's cute, and it looks like I need to add a little bit of adhesive right down here at the bottom to hold it in place. To the top here, I'm going to take one of these rubber stickers, also from crepe paper, same collection. We'll add that here at the top. These are wild boys. Then we're going to take the robot, same thing from crepe paper, add some glue dots or whatever adhesive you want. We're going to slightly cover that stick and that frame. And if you need to build it up a little bit, actually I'm going to use a pop dot to build that up just a little bit, because that stick is so tall. Place a pop dot behind it and see how that does. Much better. So sometimes I have to come back in and fix the adhesive or change the arrangement just a little bit. And again, I'm just going to put one right underneath his foot. As you can see, you can't see the adhesive. We're going to create a little cluster here. We're going to add this 5 chipboard number. Actually, oh, it's a sticker, even better. And I don't remember where I got this from. I just found it I keep a box of ephemera, and I just found it. So I'm not sure where I got it. And this particular flare badge is from Chamel's earlier collection. It's an Explorer collection, a kind of outdoorsy collection. Same collection. This is a wooden button, and it has a cloud scene on the inside, and I just peeled off the adhesive taking it off. So I'll just add some more with another glue dot. So we're creating a little 3 cluster here. Then I have 2 little tags. I believe these are from Jelly Bean Soup. I could be incorrect, but I will try to link you to them. And I'm going to put the boys' names on them. We'll do James for my son. And then we'll do Wyatt for his cousin. And I'm going to let those dry a little bit. The ink dries fairly quickly, but I'm going to set them aside and let them dry. And then for the title, we're going to use this clear cut that says Little Explorer. And for this one, I suggest using slightly smaller glue dots because we can put them behind some of the letters that are in the title. So for that, I have this little glue dots dispenser, and I'll just place those strategically behind the P and the R, and then a few here at the top. We're going to overlap that photo just a little bit. Actually, I think I'm going to bring it down flat because it's just too difficult to adhere it on top of the frame where there's a gap here below. Now for the journaling, I mentioned that I used a font that is similar. This is an older font, but just look for a font that has a fill-in, or you could actually do this on your own with a pen. And I have 4 different strips here. And I just want to make sure I get them in the right order. And we're going to place them just below that title. Straighten that title out a little bit. And I talk about how these 2 boys are best friends, and how they love exploring, and how they love using their imaginations. And then all of the elements that I picked to go on this page are elements that have an exploration or a boy theme to it, which matches the theme of my page here. I'm going to move this tag down just a smidge so you can read a little more of the journaling. All right, now we can take our 2 tags, and I'm going to put a little glue dot behind each one. And I'm going to place them on the page so they come down a little bit, and then I'm going to take my stapler, and hopefully I can reach them. Turn it a little bit. I'm going to pull the string taut. I caught the first one, move it, catch the second, and then I'll trim up a little bit off the excess. So you can see I've stapled it right to the frame. And then I want to do the same thing with my journaling. And so I might have to use a longer range stapler, or I might just staple a few on the side here, like this. But I like that it brings in some metal, which is always cool on a boy page. You can see that I've just stapled here on the right. So here you have a layout that talks about some exploration that the boys are doing, and it's a bright, colorful page with a pattern paper background. So just look for pattern paper that works with your collections that you're wanting to use, or rather your photos that you want to use. For this particular one, it was a little more neutral, so I could bring in a lot of different multicolored elements, and it doesn't overwhelm the page. Thank you for joining me for this scrapbooking process video. If you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and visit jengallacher.com for additional inspiration.